The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold.
Raider Nation, coming off a big win against the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders have moved to 2-2, defeating the Browns 20-16 and bouncing back from the Carolina game in a massive way. So I just want to jump right into the game recap. So starting with the defense, and they took a lot of heat against their performance against the Carolina Panthers, but I think they really stepped up to the task and played well against the Panthers. They only gave up 10 points. That 6 points was a result of a fumble by Zamir White. So they only gave up 10 points, which was good. Held Deshaun Watson in check for the majority of the game. And I think it starts up front. Tyree Wilson played really well. He was the highest graded player on our roster by PFF, 84 grade, which is pretty solid for Tyree. The Browns had backup tackles in there, so Tyree's patented bull rush was working pretty effectively against the Browns. So he played well, got some pressure on the QB. Another guy, Charles Snowden, was in Max Crosby's spot, had a few sacks, was pressuring the QB, albeit again, it was against a backup tackle, but still, you expect that out of a guy like Snowden if he's going up against backups, and he delivered today. Christian Wilkins, stud. There was a stat. He essentially caused 4 sacks based on his pressure up the middle. He was what you wanted Christian Wilkins to be when you paid him that $30 million a year. He was a stud today. We would not have won that game without Christian Wilkins on the defensive interior. Another guy, Robert Spillane. I honestly was really critical of Spillane after his performance against the Panthers. He played a lot better today. He was sure on his tackling, wasn't missing tackles, was pretty solid in coverage as well, wasn't giving up that many holes in the run game as well as in the passing game. So Spillane was our all-pro middle linebacker like we're accustomed to him being. Another guy who, I was pretty critical of this game was Luke Masterson. I think he should not be playing for the Raiders anymore. He was terrible in pass coverage, gave up a lot of different holes, giving up a lot of passes over the middle. Deshaun Watson had these easy layup throws 20, 30 yards downfield because Masterson wasn't getting depth down the field. And so Masterson played really bad, missed tackles to an open space. I think Amari Gainer's got to be that guy that steps in. AP's got to make that change instantly if we want a chance of beating the Broncos. But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully we get Divine Diablo back quickly and sooner rather than later because Masterson is not the guy there. The secondary, I think, played better today. Trayvon Merrick got that interception. It was lucky. Amari Cooper just dropped it. It ricocheted into his hands. But still, I think the secondary played well. Jacorian Bennett was excellent again. His name wasn't called at all except for that pass deflection he had on that slant route. So Jacorian Bennett's been playing like an all-pro corner in the NFL these past 4 weeks. So all credit to Jacorian. Jack Jones is a guy who was benched in that first quarter. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw that, which was a puzzling decision. Jack Jones, of course, he wasn't having the effort in that Panther game towards the end, but for AP to bench his corner, number one corner, you could say, for that first quarter was pretty telling of how upset Antonio Pierce was with him. And, that made a difference in that game. We were down 10-0. The defense was bad in the beginning of the game, partly because Jack Jones was not in there. Deshaun Watson was marching down the field on our secondary. When he came in, he didn't have many splash plays in there, but the secondary seemed to shore up a little bit. I know there was that lapse on that one play where Wilkins got held, apparently. Questionable call, but we'll take it as Raider fans. The guy was wide open over the middle. That can't happen. I don't know whose fault that was. I haven't watched the tape yet, but the safeties and corners clearly was a communication issue. So they got to communicate better on that backside. But for the most part, I think it was a good job by the defense. I would give them a B+ grade. On offense, I think the offense played really well today. I think the MVP of the offensive side was Trey Tucker. He looked like a stud. He's been getting better and better throughout his career so far. He looks like the next Henry Ruggs. Like he's got size, not really size, but he makes up for it with his jump ball ability. He's got blazing speed down the middle, and he's quick in space. He's hard to get on the ground. And we saw Luke Getsy do that end around to him, got the touchdown with that. So that was pretty big. he just looks in control, and I think he's a really good receiver. And I think he could be our wide receiver one in the future. Another guy, DJ Turner, I thought played really well. There was that one deep ball. It was 3rd and 16. Gardner Minshew missed him over the middle. That should have been a touchdown. He obviously had that nice end around play again, which they called for him, and he made a few guys miss there, including JOK, who's a really good linebacker. So great job by DJ Turner. He's our version of Deebo Samuel. On the offensive line, I think that made all the difference in the world having Jackson Powers Johnson back, as well as Delmar Glaze. Those two guys as rookies, I mentioned this on the last episode during the game preview. Having those two guys back is big for us because Thayer Munford and Cody Whitehair are not the answers at left guard and right tackle. So you're basically getting two massive upgrades as rookies with JPJ and Glaze. And, Myles Garrett was banged up, but he didn't do a whole lot in that game. I know he had a few sacks, but he wasn't generating that pressure consistently because Glaze was holding up. And Jackson Powers Johnson was a road grader in the run game as well as the pass blocking game. Minshew had time for most of the game. I know he got sacked a few times, like I said, but JPJ was pretty solid at that left guard spot. And, Zamir White, I'll get into him a little bit, was terrible. He doesn't know how to pick the right hole. He only goes up the middle, can't cut back and find the hole in the defense. And that's not on the offensive line. That's on Zamir White. And Alexander Madison kind of exposed that today because whenever Madison was in the game, he'd get 8, 9, 10-yard runs, whereas Zamir would get one or two. And that's a constant play of the offensive line and the defense. The holes are there. Madison was finding them, and Zamir wasn't finding them. So I think Madison's going to be the RB1 in the future. But good job by the offensive line. Wanted to shout them out. They played really well. Without them, we would not have won this game. Another guy who I think deserves his flowers is Luke Getsy, our offensive coordinator. And me and Rashawn really took him to task for his play calling in the first 3 weeks because basically for 10 quarters, outside those 2 quarters in Baltimore, we had a pretty putrid offense with Luke Getsy. The playbook was stagnant, side to side passing game, screens, nothing downfield, and nothing was really working with Luke Getsy. But this game, I think it all changed. And I'm not saying the Cleveland Browns are the 85 Bears. They're a solid defense, but Luke Getsy was really able to open up the playbook, utilize those RPOs, those end arounds, and was able to spread the Cleveland Browns defense out and really expose their weaknesses. And I thought Luke Getsy did a really good job game planning and executing his game plan for this matchup against the Browns. I think Getsy proved a lot of people wrong, including us. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep this up, this play calling. Hopefully he will. But I think he did a really good job. And, that's credit to the run game because we were able to run the ball with Madison. Without that running game, Getsy's offense doesn't work. And so I think Getsy proved with the adequate running game, he's able to call the game, matriculate our offense down the field with Gardner Minshew. And I want to get into Minshew a little bit as well. I thought he was okay. I would give him probably a C grade. I still think he misses a lot of throws that are pretty easy throws. That DJ Turner one over the middle. I think AOC hits that throw. There was another throw down the left side to Jacoby Myers. He overshot him by like 10 yards, and Myers was pretty open. That would have been probably a touchdown there, if not 40, 50 yards downfield. And I just don't think Gardner Minshew can consistently win you games against good teams. Cleveland's a decent team. They're not even playing very well right now. We barely beat them with Gardner Minshew. I think Minshew against the Chiefs, a team like that, or against, let's say, the Bengals, a good team, I think it's going to be hard for him to win. I know he beat the Ravens, but that was, like I said, that was a fluke performance by the offense. And the Ravens are finding themselves. They have a good defense now. So I think if we played the Ravens now, I don't think it would be the same result with Gardner Minshew because I just don't really see it with him because he's inaccurate downfield. And he's missing guys that are wide open. And I think Aiden O'Connell would be better suited to run this offense because it's not like they're really using Minshew's mobility. I know he's evading maybe one sack a game, but he doesn't really run the ball. He had negative rushing yards on the game. I know that's kind of it's not the most telling stat, but he's not using his legs as much as I thought he would. And I think AOC could do the same thing he's doing. He's handing the ball off, running play action. And I think AOC with a good offensive line, with the offensive line we have currently, I think AOC could run the offense if more effectively than Gardner Minshew. But that's here nor there. I'm rooting for Minshew. I think he's going to get the start against Denver. I don't know if we're going to be able to beat Denver, who has a really good defense, a better defense than the Cleveland Browns. So that's yet to be seen. But I'm hoping Minshew can keep his play, consistent and keep getting better. And, hopefully he develops more of a rapport with some of his receivers and not overthrowing them like he's been doing so far. Lastly, Antonio Pierce, he was a guy I was extremely critical of after the Carolina game because the only reason he was hired is because of his ability to motivate the players. And against Carolina, they came out flat and were unmotivated. And Antonio Pierce, he was supposed to be this messiah who was supposed to motivate the players, get them ready. No trap games where the team would just lay flat and not respond. But today, the team came out motivated. And I credit that to Antonio Pierce because his calling card when he was hired, like I said, was to motivate the players, light a fire under their ass. And that's what was done today. We saw him call out guys like Jack Jones, bench Jack Jones, and I think he really inspired the team to go and say, "Hey, we're going to play well, get back to 2-2. The season is not over after a game against the Panthers." And we essentially saved the season today to go to 2-2 because if we were 1-3 going into the Denver game, I think the season would have probably been over at that point. 2-2, you're right in the thick of things. I think before the season started, if we said we were 2-2, we would have all taken it. At this point, we actually predicted in our schedule prediction video that the Raiders were going to be 2-2. Interestingly enough, we had them winning the Charger game and the Panther game and losing the Ravens and Browns, and it's quite the opposite of what happened. But 2-2, the record is all that matters, and we're 2-2. We're right in the mix, eighth seed in the AFC playoffs right now, so everything's out in front of us right now. So if the team can continue getting better, improving their play, the quarterback, it's all up to the quarterback, really. The quarterback has to be playing well. He played decent today, and that's why we're able to win. But I think we need more from him if we're going to beat teams like Denver and Pittsburgh. Those two defenses are really solid, and Minshew's got to be better if we're going to beat those teams. But I think with the offensive line, with the running game under Alexander Madison, and with our defense is going to get healthy, we need Max Crosby back. We really need him back. Devontae, last one I'm also going to make too. Devontae being out actually helps the offense. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but Gardner Minshew, he mentioned this before in one of his press conferences. He felt pressure to throw the ball to Devontae. If he's one-on-one, Minshew tends to throw the ball to him, even when he's covered. One-on-one, he's not fast anymore, so he's not going to have that separation. And so when you're one-on-one and Minshew throws him the ball, he's not going to come down with it that often. Maybe, it's 40-60, even if it's 50-50, that's not efficient offense. And so with Devontae being out, it allowed Minshew to spread the ball around to DJ Turner, to Trey Tucker, to Brock Bowers, to the rest of our weapons that we have, Jacoby Myers. And so with him being out, it helped Gardner Minshew and it helped Luke Getsy open up his playbook. And so I think going forward, I think Devontae could be used as a decoy. I don't think he's going to be force fed like he's been in the past because it's just not efficient offense. And we've seen that. When Devontae's force fed, we always lose games. When Devontae has like one or two catches and the offense is moving, I'd rather have that. And Devontae would tell you that too. You'd rather have the offense be more efficient with him not getting his targets if the offense is good. But if he's getting 20 targets a game and we're getting blown out, that's not what he wants. And that's not what fans want. We want to win games. And I think that's the way to do it is spreading the ball around, not just keying in on Devontae Adams. So I think that was really apparent today also. But Raider Nation, big win against Cleveland, like I said. We're right back in it 2-2. The season is all in front of us. So we're going to have you covered, Raider Nation, all things rumors, all things schedule, all things game breakdowns, whatever it is, we have it on this channel. And we just hit monetization, over 1,000 subscribers, and we thank you guys because we couldn't have done it without you. You guys are the reason we put out this content. We love interacting with you down in the comment section. So continue commenting down below, liking the videos, sharing the page with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to the page, completely free, costs nothing for you, and it helps us tremendously on this channel. So thank you, Raider Nation. And until next time, we'll catch you guys later.